Hi there, Lee from Grayscale Tarot. Some of you know me in a kind of professional level, either from past jobs that I've had, or the majority of you on this channel know me through tarot readings and things like that. The tarot reading, the tarot reading thing was way more prominent. However, just kind of stepped back from everything as my life's kind of went through some changes and things of that nature. So what exactly are you listening to and staring at right now? Basically, I've had this idea of combining tarot and fitness. The idea stems from me having lost over 75 pounds at this point, or, well, just under 75 pounds, actually. I don't want applause for that. I don't want anybody to really shower me with comments and affection and all of that, because to me, being healthy is something that you're just supposed to do. And me letting myself get up as heavy as I did, which was 313 pounds, it, it's not an applause worthy thing, right? I'm just going to leave it there. I'll also say that this is just going to be a quick video, grayscale filter thrown on top, thrown out for you guys to see. It's odd for me to peg this here, but I do want to talk about why I use a grayscale filter. And it's this odd thing in my head that I've been conceptualizing. It's this idea of social media and things becoming reality, and I really don't like that. I'm technically a 90s kid, right? I'm a millennial, but the first 10 years or so of my life were in the 90s and then onward, right? So I remember a time before social media, and I remember a time before kind of the technological wizardry of today. And although I want to utilize the technological fruits that we have gotten, I don't want to let it control me. So that's really kind of the reason for me not participating in social media, and even on a professional level, like with tarot and things like that, being very closeted and very close about what I put out and not putting much out because I don't want it to dominate my life. Putting a grayscale filter on things is supposed to be a reminder to you that this is just words on a screen. This is not real life and has absolutely nothing to do with real life, other than if you can use these words somehow to enrich your own life. Does that make sense? So do not worry about some person that you see on your phone, right? Because they do not have any bearing on you. Some of the people that I know and are on these sites and things like that, I do know in real life. So they will kind of see the front and the back of the situation. But other folks, I need you to just realize that this is not reality. Okay? That's what the grayscale filter is for. I know I'm going to get that question. Lastly, I just want to start with my first piece of, not really advice, but observations about overweight individuals, obese individuals, which I am, right? I'm still not out of the woods yet. And even harder than getting out of the woods is staying out of the woods. I haven't even wanted to speak about this because I honestly don't feel that I have the right to speak. And when I say the right, I don't care about anyone else's conceptualization of what's right and wrong. In my own mind, I wasn't even going to speak on the topic until I was over 100 pounds and 100 pounds of weight loss and been down that much for a year. Then I would start to speak on the topic. However, I saw something today that made me rethink that maybe I should start a little bit sooner. On lunch from my regular job, I happened upon a little video of an individual that I'm not going to credit, partially because I don't remember them. They're not that memorable. And number two, I don't really like the message that they were sending out. But I've noticed that there's two polarizations, just like everything in the digital age, when it comes to obesity. One is what I call fat, fluffy, friendly, which is your body, your you, but it's frothed with misinformation, like the idea that a morbidly obese person can be considered healthy at any size. There's a lot of these taglines, right? But that's one version of this stuff, is the, I'm going to call it fluffy friendly side, fluffy petting side, okay? And this is just basically just devolves in its creepiest form into, like, I think I call it mukbang videos, where people are just eating on camera and just people are just watching them get bigger. And it falls into two camps of people who are very supportive, again, fluffy petters, and then folks who are actively against that type of thing and hate them, okay? Which brings me to my other group of people, which is, the term I suppose is fat phobic, but I don't like fat phobic. Fat phobic is an idea that, you're afraid of this thing somehow. I don't think that these people are. I think that they're just people who love domination, degradation, that sort of stuff, and just really like making people feel bad about themselves. Closeted as these generally stoic thinking, well, they consider themselves to be stoics sometimes, or uberly religious, weird fanatics like God owns your body. That's what this guy I saw today, that was his thing. I'm going to break down his 3 points real quick, just because I think that they're important. I'm not going to speak on them individually, but it's just important to get the flavor, okay? His perspective was that being fat is disrespectful to 3 people, is how he put it, and then goes on to list these things, one of which is not a person. So number 1 is yourself. So he says, hey, you're being disrespectful to yourself. Number 2 is you're being disrespectful to God, because God commands you, I guess from the Christian perspective, to treat your body as a temple. And then 3 is that you're treating your significant other or children and or disrespectfully for being obese. And again, that's just the importance of getting the flavor of this human being, right? Now, I'm not here to argue, really, but I am here to make a statement that these fat phobic people like this, again, aren't really afraid. They're dumb. They don't understand obesity and what obesity is on a psychological level, right? My point of this entire first little installment, I guess you could say, is to let people in on a little bit of secret. Fat people are angry, okay? And you should really kind of thank fat people for being fat in an odd way, because most people, people who are not obese and who do not have good coping skills, will take their problems out on other people in a malicious way, where obese people, when they've had things happen to them and when they are angry and want to take things out on people, they instead eat. When things go wrong, they eat. When they're sad, they eat, right? When they're happy, they eat. All this stuff. I'm not saying it's the only emotion, but what I don't think that these fat phobic individuals understand is the fact that the fat is a buffer between the fat person on the inside and what they want to do to the world around them. Really, fat people are protecting people from themselves. You can kind of take that however you want, right? But every time that fat person chose to eat a cookie instead of bring up an issue, that was probably good for people around them. You know what I mean? Because they're not being troublesome. And again, this is something I've learned about myself. So instead of being problematic, you're fat, right? Because when you break it down at the end of the day, and when you're so small in your own mind, that all you have is, well, I can eat, right? Everyone eats. So I'm going to punish myself with that thing that everyone does. And it's going to feel good in a very odd way. I know that this is very convoluted. It's going to be. All right? But message of the day is fat people are angry. And the damage that they've done to themselves is, in part, to protect those around them. I know that's odd, but that is a form of self-denial, and that is a form of self-violence that obese people partake in almost entirely subconsciously, and I don't think realize until they can kind of get a little bit down the road on the weight loss journey and the health journey, and sort of, to use a really fucking stupid term, unpack that. I hate that psychological bullshit mumbo jumbo, and this is coming from a person with a psychological degree. Not saying I'm a psychologist, it's just a 4-year degree, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so next time you see that fat person in the grocery store or whatever, it's completely okay to be disgusted. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to feel, but just understand that there's more to that fat person than you understand. I think I've done an okay job of framing this in the way that I want it to be framed.